Hello, this is my media literacy vlog number 5. This chapter was about advertising, and I'm actually really excited to talk about this chapter because I feel like it ties into last chapter a little bit. We talked a lot about the persuasion techniques in advertising, which was probably the part of that chapter that stood out to me the most. Um, when I first think of advertisements nowadays, I mean, before you think of like posters and billboards and, 20, 30 years ago, that's what you think of when you think of advertising. Magazines, newspapers, the yellow pages, like phone books and stuff is what you'd look for advertising. But it is definitely not like that anymore. And most advertising from companies are done through social media and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, even is probably the biggest one to date, at least now. And who knows, that could change in a few years. But um, um, what's crazy is that because they have the ability to, I believe, this is just a thought for me, that I believe that they have more creativity with how they can advertise to people. That's how they entice people and draw people in, because it makes it seem like it's specific to you, and like advertisers are talking specifically to you, and we're the product. They're all fighting for our attention. So that's kind of interesting and kind of thing that I picked up on from this week. Again, just my own ideas. Um, One point that I wanted to share, or that stood out to me again, was that advertisers can't lie, and that's the law. So they can be as twisty and manipulative as they can, but they cannot lie. And that's kind of crazy to think about, because I think sometimes you see advertisements, especially scrolling through TikTok, where you're like, that can't be true, or like when you, I don't know, there's just so many like false media out there nowadays that it's hard to know what is true and which is not. And that's something that I think kind of gave me a little bit of security when talking about advertisements, is that they can't lie, and that's the law. Another thing that's scary though is, like I said before, is they can persuade you and manipulate you to make you think that that's what you want, even though that's exactly like that's their goal. That's what they're trying to do. Some persuasion techniques that we talked about in this chapter were celebrity endorsements. Again, you see that a lot on Instagram, especially, where a company will pay a celebrity to endorse their product to show it to their viewers, and then um, like their viewers would then feel enticed to buy the product because they think that because this celebrity has it, that they need it too. Another common one is the common folk approach that we talked about in the chapter, which is just like using people like me and you, like saying these are real people used in, these are not, just like people to me and you, making their lives better, stuff like that. Another persuasion technique is the snob appeal, and that one's the one where it's like, I'm better than you and this is why. Like using advertisements to be like, yeah, exactly that. I'm better than you and this is why. And you could be like me too if you had this. Fears and insecurities, that's a big one, especially that's a persuasion technique, is playing on people's fears and insecurities. Meaning, again, like, if it's like a protein shake, like a protein shake commercial. That's the biggest thing I could think of, is um, like workout commercials for, like, not even Nike, but like just like for a specific company, or like for the Peloton, or like for weightlifting or whatever it is, a commercial like that. You see these super duper fit people, and they play off your insecurities because you're like, I want to look like that, but I don't. And so I'm gonna do that because obviously if they look like that, then I want to look like that. That's kind of how I took each one of the each one of these appeals as we were talking through persuasion techniques. Um, in the book, they also talked about the Coca-Cola polar bear and how they brought out like the whole Coca-Cola polar bear commercial, and why they use polar bears for their advertisements, and that's because they're global warming. They want to save the animals. Again, in the book, talked about it, and their whole persuasion technique was like, any company who loves the environment or loves polar bears can't be that bad. And they use polar bears. They're aware of what's going on, so they buy the product. Same thing with Nike. Nike is really, really good at doing uh, commercial advertisements. They play on your emotions like crazy. Like the biggest one that I saw was with the Black Lives Matter movement, and with all the inequality issues that were going on. I mean, that are now still going on, but in the year 2020, with the big uproar of everything that was going on, Nike really played on our emotions with that commercial. I don't know if you've ever saw it, but it was such a good, deep commercial, and Nike is so good at that. and they play off your emotions, and think that's what makes them so like a more of a friend company. Like you look at them and think like, oh, Nike knows what's going on in the world, rather than like, oh, just like another workout company that is not even gonna talk about what's going on elsewhere. And that's why I think that we're so drawn to Nike, is because we know that like Nike just do it, that they know what's going on in the world. Anyways, so that was my vlog number 5. I had a lot of thoughts about it, and it was really interesting to me, and I'm excited to learn more about it.